Snow fell softly against the glowing storefronts of downtown Chicago, where holiday lights draped from lampposts and warm music spilled faintly from cafes. Adam Carver stepped out of his sleek black Tesla, straightening the collar of his tailored navy coat. At 43, he was the kind of man who looked like success: sharp jawline, salt and pepper hair, polished leather boots. He had just closed a record-breaking deal, and his phone buzzed constantly with congratulatory messages from business partners. But when he glanced across the street, something broke the rhythm of his perfect evening. A thin, pale woman crouched near an overflowing trash bin behind a diner, her breath visible in the cold. Her dark hair, tangled beneath a faded hood, clung to her face as she searched carefully through crumpled takeout bags. At her side was a boy, no older than 7, hugging a duct-taped backpack to his chest. Adam hesitated, his hand still on the Tesla's door handle. Something in his chest tightened. The woman straightened suddenly, startled, and their eyes met. She had striking green eyes, luminous even in the dim alley light, but they were rimmed red, tired, and wary. "Sorry," she whispered, brushing crumbs from her hands. The boy clung to her leg, silent, his sneakers wet and splitting at the seams. Adam felt the cold slice deeper into his bones than usual, though he stood wrapped in warmth. For a moment he considered walking away. People struggled everywhere. He couldn't save them all, but something about her stillness, her fragile dignity, kept him rooted. He crossed the street slowly, careful not to startle them. "Hey," he said gently, his breath fogging between them. Are you two okay?" The woman's jaw tightened. "We're fine." Her voice cracked on the word. She looked down quickly, adjusting the boy's scarf, a thin, fraying one, and tried to turn away, but Adam caught a faint tremor in her hands. The child's stomach growled audibly. "You don't look fine," he said softly. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight? It's Christmas Eve." She gave a bitter little laugh and shook her head. "Christmas Eve doesn't change anything." She paused, struggling with the words before finally adding, "We've been at the shelter line since noon. It's full. Everywhere's full." Adam glanced at the boy. "Is he hungry?" "We're okay," she repeated firmly, but her lips trembled. Then the boy murmured something, his voice small. "Mom, can we just go?" Adam knelt slightly to meet the boy's gaze, noticing his pale cheeks and thin wrists sticking out from a tusse mall jacket. "What's your name, buddy?" "Illy," the boy whispered. Adam swallowed hard, shoving his hands deep into his coat pockets. Around them, carolers' voices drifted faintly from the plaza, singing about joy and miracles. The contrast felt brutal. A hook of tension hung between them as Adam hesitated, unsure how far he should reach into their lives. "Listen," he said finally, "there's a little cafe down the block. Warm food, hot chocolate. No strings attached." She stiffened, her pride flaring even through exhaustion. "We're not begging," she snapped, her chin lifting. "I didn't say you were," Adam replied calmly, holding her gaze. "I'm offering dinner, that's all." Her eyes darted briefly toward Illy, who tugged at her sleeve. For a few moments she didn't answer. Then finally she exhaled shakily and nodded once. "Just for him," she murmured. Inside the cafe, warmth enveloped them instantly. Steam rose from mugs, soft jazz played, and couples laughed in cozy corners. The woman looked painfully out of place in her thrifted coat, boots worn thin at the soles, and knuckles chapped raw from the cold. Illy clutched the menu like it was fragile gold, his eyes wide as the server set down a plate stacked high with pancakes and strawberries. He devoured them with small, silent bites. Adam sipped his coffee slowly, studying the woman's tense posture. "I'm Adam," he said. She hesitated, then answered quietly, "Lena, you from Chicago?" She shook her head. "Michigan, I moved here after my husband died last year. Thought I'd find work. It didn't exactly work out." She tried to say it lightly, but her voice trembled at the edges. "I used to be a dental assistant, had plans. Now," she gestured faintly, as though the unfinished sentence explained itself. "The shelters, the trash bins, the duct-taped backpack. Do you have family? He asked gently. None worth calling. She brushed her hair behind her ear, revealing small silver studs, a glimpse of who she used to be. Illy's all I've got. We were in this tiny basement apartment. Last week, the heat went out, the landlord. He said he couldn't fix it before January, and then... She broke off, blinking fast. We left before the pipes froze. Adam leaned back, his throat tightening. Outside the frosted window, flakes kept falling under the amber streetlights. He'd spent thousands tonight on wine, gifts, and dinner reservations he didn't even keep. And here was Lena, counting pennies and shivering under a flickering bulb somewhere she used to call home. The silence between them stretched until Lena spoke, her voice barely audible. I don't want pity, she said, gripping the coffee mug as though it anchored her. I want Illy safe, that's all. Before Adam could respond, Illy suddenly coughed, choking slightly on a piece of pancake. Lena shot up in panic, knocking over her coffee, her hands trembling as she helped him. Adam grabbed a napkin, steadying her. When Illy settled, pale but okay, she sank back into her chair, burying her face in her hands for a second. Adam hesitated, then leaned forward. I can help, he said quietly. Not charity, a hand up. Her eyes darted up sharply, defenses flaring. Help how? He opened his mouth, but before he could answer, his phone buzzed violently. He glanced at the screen and froze. A message from his assistant. Emergency at the office. Fraud investigation. Millions at stake. His world tilted slightly, colliding with hers in a way he didn't expect. Lena saw the shift in his expression and frowned. What happened? Adam looked at her, then at Illy, then back at the snow beyond the window. For the first time that night, he didn't know which crisis to face first. Adam's pulse drummed as he stared at the message, the glowing screen burning against his palm. Millions at stake, his assistant had written. But when he looked up, his eyes fell on Lena, cradling Illy against her side, her damp lashes clumped from holding back tears. Something inside him shifted. He silenced the phone and set it face down on the table. It can wait, he said quietly, more to himself than to her. Lena studied him cautiously, as though she didn't quite believe anyone like him would choose to sit here instead of walking back to his warm life. Illy was still eating slowly, tiny hands clutching his fork, as though the plate might vanish any second. Adam noticed the boy's socks poking through holes in his sneakers and the faint blue veins showing along his wrist where the fabric had frayed away. Listen, Adam said, leaning forward, lowering his voice. I have an extra guest room. You'd be warm, just for a few nights, until we figure something out. Lena stiffened instantly, her back going straight. No, he blinked, surprised by the speed of her refusal. I get why you'd hesitate, he said softly, but it's safe. You'd have privacy. It's you don't know us. She cut him off, jaw tight. And I don't know you. I'm not putting my son in some stranger's house because he had a nice dinner and said a few kind words. Her voice cracked at the end, but her eyes blazed, sharp with pride. Adam respected her more for it. He nodded slowly. All right, no pressure. He glanced toward the window, where fat snowflakes swirled beneath the orange glow of the streetlights. But I'm not walking out of here without making sure you two have somewhere safe tonight. Lena hesitated, her hands fidgeting with the edge of Illy's scarf. Then finally she whispered, There's a church shelter across from the river. They only let in 20 at a time. They said they were full earlier, right? Yeah, but sometimes people don't show. Her voice sounded more like hope than certainty. Adam pulled his coat tighter and stood. Then let's try. Minutes later, they walked together along the icy sidewalk, passing shuttered boutiques decorated with wreaths and red bows. Adam's boots clicked against the pavement, steady and deliberate, while Lena's thrifted soles slipped more than once. Illy clutched her hand tightly, his other holding the duct-taped backpack like a shield. At the church steps, a thin line of people hunched under the awning, breath turning to mist in the bitter cold. The door creaked open, and a volunteer stepped out with a clipboard. No more beds tonight, the woman announced, scanning the crowd. I'm sorry, we're full. Lena's shoulders sagged, but she just nodded, already turning away. Ellie's small voice broke the silence. "Mom, I'm cold." That did it. Adam's chest tightened until it almost hurt. He stepped forward, pulling out his phone. "Is there another shelter nearby?" he asked the volunteer urgently. She hesitated, chewing her lip. "Maybe Pine Street Mission, but it's a 40-minute walk, and they've been at capacity for weeks." Adam exhaled, his breath visible in the freezing air. He looked at Lena. "I know you don't trust me yet," he said, his tone steady, "but you can't walk across the city with him in this cold. I'm offering a warm, safe place tonight. One night, lock on the door, no expectations, just shelter." Lena's lips parted, her defenses crumbling under exhaustion. She glanced at Ellie, who was shivering visibly now. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, finally, she gave the smallest nod. "One night," she whispered. Back at Adam's penthouse, the contrast was dizzying. Heat radiated softly through the marble foyer. The city skyline stretched endlessly beyond glass walls, and the faint scent of cedar drifted from a decorated tree in the corner. Lena stood just inside the doorway, clutching Ellie's backpack, her boots leaving faint wet marks on the polished floor. She looked overwhelmed, trying to mask it with stoic stillness. Ellie's eyes darted everywhere, wide at the enormous windows and glittering lights. Adam showed them the guest room, a cozy space with a queen bed, fresh linens, and soft lighting. "Bathrooms through there," he said gently. "Extra towels in the cabinet." Lena touched the quilt like it was fragile, her breath catching. "This is too much," she murmured, but Adam heard the subtle quiver of relief behind her voice. Later, while Ellie slept curled under the blanket, Lena lingered in the quiet kitchen, tracing her finger along the rim of a steaming mug Adam had handed her. She looked smaller now, without the tight armor she carried outside. "You didn't have to do this," she said softly, staring into the tea. "I know," Adam replied. He leaned against the counter, hands in his pockets. "But I wanted to," he hesitated, then added, "You remind me of someone, my sister. She had a rough couple years. I didn't help her when I should have. I'm not making that mistake twice." Elena's throat tightened as she blinked rapidly, looking away. "People don't usually notice us," she whispered. Adam studied her carefully, then said, "More people should." The room fell quiet except for the soft hum of the heater. For the first time in months, Lena's shoulders lowered, the ever-present tension easing slightly. By Christmas morning, Adam had already arranged a meeting for her with a friend who ran a dental clinic downtown. He left a neat envelope on the kitchen table, a gift card for groceries, a handwritten list of resources, and a business card for the clinic. When Lena found it, she pressed her hand over her mouth, tears sliding silently down her cheeks as Ellie woke to the smell of fresh cinnamon rolls Adam had ordered. 3 weeks later, Lena stood outside the clinic in a crisp new set of scrubs, holding Ellie's hand. She had a steady job, an apartment lined up through a housing program, and a safety she thought she'd lost forever. Adam met her there, handing Ellie a small toy truck wrapped in bright paper. The boy grinned for the first time since they'd met. Lena looked at Adam, her green eyes luminous now not with exhaustion but gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to," Adam said softly. "Just, when you can, do the same for someone else." Lena nodded slowly, her lips trembling into the faintest smile. She glanced down at Ellie, smoothing his hair gently, and whispered, "We will." That night, Adam drove home beneath the glow of streetlights, his Tesla cutting quietly through the snow. He thought about Lena, Ellie, and the unplanned turn of one winter evening. It didn't solve everything, not for them, not for him, but it reminded him of something essential. Small kindnesses aren't small at all, because sometimes one act of noticing can reroute an entire life.